Well, let us translate our algorithm into code now. Okay, so these are the 4 steps. Right? Now we cannot, of course, translate line by line. Translate this algorithm step 1 into 1 or 2 lines of code. No, that doesn't work. So because if you see step 4, it says repeat the steps from 1 to 3, which means we have to get into a loop or a recursive function. Right? So therefore, it is important that we go through all the steps of an algorithm and then understand whether a loop comes, whether a if condition comes. So then we have to get into the coding part. Now, so we are given an array, input array. Let us call that an integer array. Right? So I call that with the 10 elements, let's say. So which means another integer, that is the length of the array is 10, which is given to me. Now, the declaration of the variables, right? When you go through the entire algorithm, you would also understand. And you need to first declare and define what is the data structures that you require and what is the variables that you require. So here, the only data structure that we are given is an array. So we continue to use that. And output is an in-place array. So we don't need an extra array declaration where we store the output. Here we are storing the output into the same array that we got. So it's an in-place algorithm. Now, it says begin from the index 0. So which means I need an index which starts from 0. So I'm declaring it, assigning it with 0. And now compare the rest of the elements. So how do we compare the rest of the elements? That means we have to iterate through all the elements other than I. Right? So we need another integer index. I call it j. Do we need anything else? So we need a swap. So either you can write a swap method to swap those two values, or you can do the two variable swapping without using an extra method or extra variable. So we'll do that. Now it looks like from the declaration side, that is it. And in general, so since I know this algorithm before, I know the code before, I'm able to translate it quick and fast. Usually when you are writing it for the first time, it takes time. So as you go through, as you write, then you would realize, hey, I need another data structure. I need another parameter, another index. So you would come back and declare. That is how the translation of algorithm to code happens. Now, so we say we have to begin from there and then compare each of the element and then repeat step 1 to 3. So in order to repeat from step 1 to 3, what do we need? We need a loop. Right? So for this starts from 1, I is equal to 0, and it goes until n elements, and each time the I is incremented by 1. Right? So this is, you can map it step 4 to this line. And then what says it compare with the rest of the elements, which means you get inside and then compare with the rest of the elements, which is j is equal to 0 to j less than n and j plus plus. So now this will help you to compare this element with the rest of the elements. Then what do you need to do? The actual operation, right? Compare and swap. So far we are only focused on the iteration part. This follows up the upper index, this is the inner index, and now compare if the array of I at the outer index is less than array of j. Then what do you need to do? Swap, right? So we need to swap there. Let us write. So swapping in two variables without writing a function. Right? So I would say we have to assign the element of array of I to array of j. So therefore I would take this array of I is equals to array of I plus array of j, and then assign array of j is equals to array of I. So this is your swapping. You can search online how do we swap without using an extra variable. This is what you get. So here we don't get into the discussion of that. So now what we are done with. We're done with swap if the ith value is smaller than the compared value. Is there anything else that we need to do? So we repeated the steps anyway. So now close this for loop and then close this for loop. How many lines of code did you write? 1, 2, 3, and 4 lines, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's why this is simple sort in 4 lines. Now, the next thing what you do is dry run of this algorithm. Before you go ahead and type into your editor and run it, what you need to do is you take an array of 10 elements or 5 elements and then dry run the code. That's where you validate your code. First you validate your algorithm, then code, then go ahead and type it and run it. You would see the sorted array into the same input array. I hope this gave you an understanding of simplest sort in 4 lines and how do we go about describing it and how do we translate our description and understanding into an algorithm, into series of steps, and from the series of steps, that is an algorithm, into a code. Until then, keep watching and visit vsdevelopers.io for more information. Thanks.